Especially when you want to make your own car and everybody's got their own personality and stuff and you want it to run well, being able to do something like a custom cam would really give you more wiggle room because the stuff off the shelf might not allow you to work with some pieces because they don't necessarily go with a different cam, so that's cool. Welcome back to Christina's Garage Gearhead in Training. I'm at Holley LS Fest, Texas with Cammotion. They have a couple drivers here today and I thought it'd be really cool to ask them about their camshafts and what thought goes into figuring out how to do a custom camshaft for them. This is Felicia, and what kind of racing do you do?
So I drag race, quarter mile, eighth mile, prep and no prep.
When you decide to do a build for that, how do you, what decisions do you make making the car personalized to that application?
So I bought the CTSV. It comes factory with an LSA supercharger on it, so that kind of paved the path to stay with the roots blower. I then upgraded to a 2650, and we actually have a brand new 3.0 Whipple on it now. And I mean, you really could go Pro Charger, twin turbo, any power adder is going to be a blast. For me, I just love the torquiness of the roots blowers and the drivability of them. We do a lot of drag and drives on top of racing, and you would never know that the car is as modified as it is cruising down the highway.
What's the difference between a supercharger and a turbo?
So for me, it's instant torque. That's probably the biggest difference that I would say. I don't have to build boost. Everything for me is instant. I don't leave on a trans brake, nothing like that.
How much horsepower does this make?
It makes about 1,200 wheel horsepower right now.
And because you have a supercharger, how does that, do you know how much that actually increases the horsepower?
So since these cars came with blowers factory, I couldn't tell you what it would make without it. I can tell you I bought the car slightly modified and it made 618, and we've now doubled that over the 9 years of me owning it.
How did you choose what supercharger to put on it?
Well, like I said, we're roots blower people. And it's an LS, so Magnuson was really our route to go when we wanted to go bigger from the 1900 to the 2650. And then Whipple came out swinging, man, with the 3.0. So we're going to put it to the test and see if we can go even faster. Game plan is probably 850s in terrible humidity like today.
And what's ET? Because the guys at Cammotion were talking about ET. I don't know what that is and how that relates to horsepower and all the supercharger and all of that.
So you won't see it here because this is eighth mile, no prep and no time. But at the track, whenever you see somebody running and they get a time slip and it's got their 60 foot, their 330, their eighth mile, so on and so forth, that's their ET. So we have been 860 at 159 in the quarter. That would be our fastest ET and fastest mile per hour.
And with all of that, I'm learning that the camshaft is usually the last thing that you choose to complement all of those other things. That being said, what camshaft do you have in yours?
So I run a custom camshaft. It's Cammotion, and it is a secret.
No telling.
I'm actually very transparent with everything we do, from wins to losses to builds to trial and error to me putting on something backwards and having to redo it and pay for it. But there are a couple things that are very custom to the car that between my tuner, builder, and Cammotion, they've come up with it together, and that just happens to be one of them.
And that's actually really cool. When I was talking to Cammotion, the fact that they specialize in doing the custom, and that you give them all the other information that you have and they fine-tune to find something that works for you.
Absolutely. So I don't think anybody expects the average person that wants to put a cam in their car to know all of the specs and the lift and everything else that a cam has to have. Why would you know that knowledge? So Cammotion is there to help you every step of the way. You fill out a form, like you said, with everything you've got, kind of your goals, what you want to do with it, so on and so forth. And they could even spec you a cam if you wanted, if you didn't have a builder helping or a tuner helping or anything like that. And they've been amazing for me. They always give their advice. We're always trying different things. And I mean, obviously I recommend them. We're here. We have a 4,500 pound street car going mid-8s. It speaks for itself.
Did you have a different cam in this before and then went to them to have it built, or have you been running it with the Cammotion cam since?
Since I've owned the car, when I bought it, it had a comp cam in it. Nothing against them at all, but we did switch immediately to a Cammotion cam. That was in 2018, 17-ish, something like that. And I've been running with Cammotion ever since.
What difference did you notice when you switched cams?
I mean, definitely power. So the cam affects everything. It affects not only your lower end, but your top end. So it's really what you're looking for. For me, I'm so heavy that if I don't get off the line quickly, my top end no longer matters. I'm not gonna back half. I'm not a turbo car. So that was probably our biggest difference, is being able to cut a 126 with this kind of weight.
Wow. That's really cool, and I really appreciate you taking the time to explain things, because I'm so new. I'm trying to understand what horsepower is, what torque is, and not knowing what all the terms mean. It's like a whole other language. So you taking the time to explain it and also seeing it in its element, it helps with the learning process, because when you say all these words, it's like, okay, but when you actually see it in application being used and how it works for someone like yourself, and the fact that Cammotion isn't necessarily, they do have plug and play, but for the most part, they specialize in the custom, it's really cool to see. So I really appreciate it.
Of course, I actually love what you're doing. I feel like a lot of people have the questions that you have, but they're too scared to answer them, or they're too scared to ask them, because I don't know, sometimes people can be, I don't know, a little bit difficult. You know, you're scared to ask a dumb question or something like that. And I think that this is knowledge that a lot of people are going to value and appreciate you for.
Especially when you want to make your own car, and everybody's got their own personality and stuff, and you want it to run well. Being able to do something like a custom cam would really give you more wiggle room, because the stuff off the shelf might not allow you to work with some pieces, because they don't necessarily go with a different cam. So that's cool.
Absolutely. I love that you said that. So you can buy all of the high-end expensive parts in the world, and if they don't complement each other, it's not going to work. And your cam has a lot to do with that.
This is Jacob Duhe. Did I get it right? Like Duhe?
Yep.
Like from
Correct.
Canada A?
Correct. First person ever to get it right. But I did correct it yesterday.
Yeah, I asked him like 10 times. Could you describe, because you mentioned you've done a lot of work on it within the last year, how have they all helped you be able to make this build?
And that's where the experts that work for these companies really come into play, right? You send somebody an email for Cammotion, tell them exactly what you're trying to do, and they're gonna get it together, right? I'm not no genius. I just know what I'm trying to do, and they know how to design a cam, right? I'm just using Cammotion as an example, but that's how it works.
That's cool.
You rely on others. Everything's a team, right? Nobody's doing everything by themselves.
If you guys are looking to make a really cool build, reaching out to the companies, as Jacob mentioned, is the way to go. Even if you don't know what you're doing, or if you do know what you're doing, being able to get expert
advice. Yeah, that's why they pay them people.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting over here screwing it together.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Jacob. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was nice talking with you.
If you guys are interested in a Cammotion cam, go to their website. They have a lot of information there. There's also a sheet that you can fill out with your specifics, so that they can build the cam specific for your application and for your car. Yes, they do LS here at LS Fest, but they also do small block, big block as well, which they're going to be helping me with my 383 stroker. So if you guys want to follow them, check out their stuff. I appreciate you. Subscribe to my channel if you want to follow along for more, and see you next time.